The first thing I will say is that I am sold. I am sold on this game. So I know a lot of you have already heard about the interviews and the info confirmed in them, but this video won't be just a boring list of those things. I'm going to offer my unique opinion on the biggest points from the interviews, and I feel like I have come to some unique conclusions about the game's direction, especially in context of my last video that was pretty skeptical. I have seen a total of 4 different written interviews from IGN, GameSpot, Press Start, and Game Informer with a ton of information and 2 new beautiful shots of the city, as you can see right now. I implore you to read them yourself. There will be links in the description to all of them. If my last video did not sell you on this game, then this video might. At the same time, I don't want to overhype this game and make assumptions that will disappoint people if it isn't as good as YouTubers make it out to be. Skepticism is always something to have, but I want to express what makes me trust the direction of this game even more than before. The interviews were answered by creative director Patrick Redding and senior producer Flora Marty, which I probably butchered, and their answers are clear when they need to be. They get to the point and they know exactly what answers the fans are looking for. Before I talk about the first point, I do want to say something about YouTube coverage of this game. I don't follow a single DC game YouTuber other than Batman Arkham videos, but I have seen some of the titles and the amount of videos other bigger YouTubers are posting, and I just want to say I'm not like that. I have not made 8 videos in the 7 days this game has been announced. I care about Gotham Knights seriously, and my coverage of it is out of passion. But I also think it would be great for my channel that hasn't had much to do for a while. Each of my videos for this game will be inspired, and I hope you can tell with the effort I put in every video. My channel isn't even monetized yet, and I find this to be a hobby right now. If you want me to do more on my channel, including Gotham Knights coverage, please share this video in my channel. It just sucks having done hours and hours of editing on a video and then having them continuously flop, which I hope changes in the near future. This is probably some of the biggest things for me, and many others were concerned about the same thing, and the 2 devs cleared it up well. They didn't dodge the question, didn't give any in-between yes and no answers. They gave concrete no's to these things. You will be able to free roam the entire map from the start of the game. The RPG system they have in place is specifically made so that there isn't a boring grind in the way, and if there is, it's very natural, taking the place of randomly occurring crimes and progress. This game and the RPG aspects are purely made to match the artistic vision of WB Montreal and are clearly, as stated, not a way to make this a games as a service game. This game can also be played offline. This gives us even more reason to trust WB Montreal with this game and that they truly care for their vision. A lot of the worries I had in my original video were skeptical of if they would just run in the wrong direction with certain ideas like the RPG elements, but we can see that they know. They figured out good directions and actually care about the direction the game goes in. I wouldn't be scared of microtransactions either. I think skins and stuff like that and different characters will be DLC after launch, but this game releases on 5 different platforms at the moment, could even be more after, and I highly doubt WB Entertainment is worried about this game's success and will need to put excessive microtransactions within it. Now, I know I said this in my last video, but I think people, myself included, are coming to understand that this game really is not an Arkham game, and wasn't from the start, as said in many of the interviews. WB Montreal wanted to get away from Arkham and do their own thing. They didn't want to piggyback off of the Batman games Rocksteady made, and they didn't want their games to be set to an Arkham standard, especially since the studio has evolved to the point where very few who worked on Arkham Origins are still working there. This is a new team and they want a new perception. When we heard Batman died in the trailer, it made that world feel empty. Like, what is the point of this universe if Batman isn't here anymore? It just makes the universe feel off, like it's over. But think about it this way. Of course it does, because we know barely anything about this universe yet, and the 4 main characters in this game. WB Montreal didn't make an entire game with the idea in mind that since Batman is dead, the entire universe is empty and over. No, when you play this game, an entire new universe will appear, new events in history that will fill the gap you feel knowing Batman is gone. It would be impossible to truly know what the universe is like with so little to go off of right now. Without knowing the arcs of these characters yet, of course the world feels a little empty because we haven't experienced it yet. It's not like a Arkham game where you have context of what the game is and what the history of that universe is, and you're ready for that. That's the difference between this game's advertisements and Arkham, is that we have context. When an Arkham game trailer comes out, we know what the universe is, but this one, we have only seen 10 minutes of footage. In a way, you as the player are going to go through the same thing the main characters go through in this game, missing the Batman. And in a way, that should be the stepping stone for relating to these characters. And I kind of think that's genius. One of my personal concerns was with the GUI and the tone of certain things such as health bars over enemies' heads. Thankfully, it is confirmed that you can actually toggle off things like health bars and damage markers. I don't know how far this customization reaches, like if we are able to change the color of effects like Batgirl's purple effect thing, but this combined with suit customizations is what I wanted, to be able to toggle the experience to what I want. I asked for a more serious tone, and I can edit things to give that tone. There will also be skins you can put over armor. It's not like each armor piece is a color you can't change. You pick armor pieces and give a color scheme to the entire set of gear. And many people worried about the art style, specifically of the characters. Well, you can make your own character with their own colors and art style, whether you want it to be wacky and bright or dark and serious. Redding said in an interview with Comic Book Gaming, there are expressions of the suits in there that look very vibrant and colorful and very true to the comics, and there are others that you'll see that are quite grounded, and others that have even more fantastical elements to them. In all of the interviews, the way that the story would work is explained in way more detail. So in single player, by yourself, you choose a knight and free roam solo with them. There's no AI following you around and messing stuff up. The devs seem to understand that these characters are not entirely buddy-buddy and like to work alone for the most part, only meeting for very crucial points. But apparently it was echoed a lot that you can play through the entire game solo if you want to, and you can switch to any character at any point by returning to the Belfry. You are never restricted to a certain character at any point in the game. With each character, the story won't be entirely different, but it will offer unique dialogue and moments depending on who you play as in the story. This offers so much replayability. I'm probably going to do 4 playthroughs, and there might be a 5th or a 6th playthrough with the co-op aspect, if that kind of changes the story as well, with the dynamic with 2 different characters and how each of the characters interact with each other. Even though this isn't a Batman game, I still get the noir night patrol vibe he would give off, because this is also a game with vigilantes on a solo night patrol solving mysteries. I like the inclusion of a greater mystery and history to Gotham that these heroes have to uncover through many different chapters of the game. The Court of Owls is a really important foundational piece for the game because their connection to Gotham's history is part of how we made our Gotham. So our Gotham City, it's built on these 5 boroughs, and each of the boroughs has a history. It's connected to different families. It's very much a Gotham City that has been built up historically. So obviously that's one of the big things that the Court of Owls gives us. I think this game is going to offer me that solo noir story that I want. I can take it slow, watch the weather and lights as I prowl on a gargoyle in this gothic city. At one point, one of the devs explained that the experience the player wants can be chased in this game. The player can focus on the story and do less of the gameplay heavy aspects like challenges, crimes, etc. And that takes me to my next point, a huge point. Not only did they explain that there will be no level gating, including things like my example from last video, a level 10 thug you just can't beat, but they described a genius aspect of the game that explains why there is enemy scaling and all of these RPG aspects. Because not only is the story going to play out in a semi-RPG or even full RPG way, but they want to make sure each player can play the way they want without being punished. We try to balance how much of it is an open world experience versus how much of it is a narrative driven experience. And what we came up with was a model, kind of a system of tracks for the player that they can kind of change lanes at their own liberty, which is great because it means different players are going to frankly experience that content in different ways. What I get from this is that if I want to play this game very seriously and not get into the challenges and side gameplay aspects that uninterest me. This is just an example. I'm going to play everything in this game. But the thing is, I don't have to, and I won't suffer the consequence of my character being too weak to progress because the enemy scaling will be following me the whole time. This system is obviously complicated, but the play your way element is their goal with these systems. They mentioned how important the detail of Gotham was, especially the NPCs who wandered the streets, the people you have to protect. The biggest thing that came out about the map is that Marty said this: "In terms of size, we have 5 boroughs that are across several islands, connected by bridges and all that." Several islands. Several. Meaning I might be correct in my last video. This may not be the entire map. Those hoping for an even taller area like the Arkham City background, you still have a chance of getting that. Now, this statement is still vague, and I think this part of the map may be considered 2 islands if you look at the gap on the far side, or this is all one giant island. I don't know. Clearly the rest of the map is to the right, which has been conveniently hidden throughout all the footage of the game. I've tried to cross-reference everything, and there's no shot of that area. Who knows what is lying on the other side of those bridges? This is the only image we have of it so far. It was the teaser image that I cannot find anywhere in the map that was given to us in the trailer, so I'm guessing that's a different island. And if you do find it somewhere in the map, I've checked so many times to try to find it. I can't. If you find it, please tell me. And I kind of question the size of this map, because either they're being really vague about it, or they're literally saying what we wanted to do is have a whole city. 5 boroughs with neighborhoods, sub-neighborhoods, and districts. Like, usually an Arkham game is divided by districts. No, this one's divided by boroughs with districts in them, which I'm hoping means that this map is a lot bigger than what we've seen, and that they're hiding things from us, which would be insane. The way they describe Gotham is filled with passion, and I really hope they surprise us with the stuff we haven't seen. But I would love to have Old Wayne Tower from the Court of Owls comic arc, because it was designed by Anton Furst, who came up with the design when drawing concepts for Batman 1989, and everybody knows how much I love that Gotham City. It would be so cool to have a district themed after that movie. This continues what I was saying earlier about this not being an Arkham game from the start. They had intent when coming up with the story and the characters they chose. They killed Batman for a good reason, and it's obvious his death is vague for a reason. It ties back to the narrative of the game. You and I are going to be wondering what happened to Batman just as much as the main characters are. They are confused like we are. Our main character dying is going to be more so sad to these characters as it is to us. At least I sincerely hope that is the plan or the point, but it feels like it. They don't bullshit their way through these questions. It is clear they care a lot about the narrative side of this game, just as much as the gameplay. Some of the developers / writers got to spend a whole day in a room with Scott Snyder, a huge writer in DC who created the Court of Owls, bouncing ideas and creating a direction, an original direction. They also talked to Jim Lee and other DC creators. Personally, I have good reason to believe that this studio cares a lot about how and why their game works, and its purpose is beyond just business. This is art, and I'd say this is passion you rarely get in the AAA gaming world. I won't act like I know all the nuances of game design and how that market works, but I can tell that this team cares about their project, and if you still have your doubts, which is reasonable, just look out for the future, because I'm sure there will be some gameplay or a trailer that may just get you interested. This new info really got me even more invested and hyped for this game, but we as consumers should still always be somewhat skeptical, especially this far out from launch. There are some things I am still unsure about. I'm not really a big fan of the really neon design elements. I'm hoping that they will make those elements customizable as well, because if they want me to make my experience, I would personally like to have a noir vigilante experience, but still grounded and serious. That's what I want, and I may not fully get that, or that may not be how the entire game will go, and that's fine. It may even present a new tone that I get newly attached to. This may have just been how the gameplay trailer would operate. You know, a lot of gameplay trailers do this, but But I hope Batgirl's personality is not just saying stuff that doesn't matter, like this isn't up to code. There isn't much new info on the combat other than the fact that it has what you expect: evade, combos, variety of strike attacks, and defense. I really hope defense is a big part of this game, because I'm not a huge fan of games where you only jump out of the way of punches. The Arkham games really showed what it is like taking the power from the thug and throwing it back in their face. So it would be great if there are evade/defense options like Arkham other than just getting out of the way. But on top of all of that is how important the narrative is. Like I said in the last video, I don't want to just have fun. I want to feel impacted. I want to care and get invested in these characters in a serious way. I want this game to stick with me. I don't want to forget about this game like it's just another AAA game. I also hope that they stick with this philosophy echoed in these interviews, one that puts the player first. There is still a chance some elements of the game could fall flat, but with the care this studio has, there is a good chance very few will. At the end of the day, I know for sure, even if it's just like parkouring and gliding around Gotham and exploring, that I will enjoy the hell out of this game. I will be covering Gotham Knights probably up until launch, so if you're interested in Gotham Knights coverage and you want more of a unique take on all of this stuff, because I don't follow any other Arkham YouTubers, I come to my own unique conclusions about the game, and I write all of these scripts for it. A lot of the videos I might make about this game will be scripted. This video and the last video were entirely scripted, and I really thought about, and I'm really passionate about this game. I'm really excited, so if you want to see more of that, I'll stop rambling because this part's not scripted. But yeah, guys, please check out my stuff. Share this because I'm kind of stagnating on views right now. And yeah, guys, I will see you in the next video.